So where are we now? We've just taken over a supporting role in Adidas North America. Paint me the picture.
Yeah, so I landed in August 2014, and my role was the brand director. So I had every category. So the business unit was our internal talk, communication, sports marketing, and marketing operations reporting to me. First thing you have to do is really get out and honestly walk the streets to see what consumer is wearing you or not wearing you. Get on the playing fields to see where we had opportunities, and then evaluating and asking the right questions of what do we need to do with the existing talent. Again, I was a Kiwi coming from South Korea, and to run the brand for North America, you had to have that humility. As I don't know what I need to know. So I was, again, very, very lucky to have great people around me that took the time to educate me on the importance of real important US sports and what it means for the psyche of America. Yeah, I knew Super Bowl was big. I didn't really understand what it really meant and how much bigger it was than anything else when it comes to sporting, events or passion. So, I think the big piece here is understanding community. And when you're a European-based brand and your number one competitors are all US brand based, you're already at a slight disadvantage in terms of understanding who your consumer is, how they operate, the sporting platforms, and the way to tell your stories in some cases needs to be different than how you would tell it in other parts of the world. So still create the right product, but you may tell a story differently because XYZ athlete in Europe may be a superstar, but they're probably unknown in the United States. And that was a challenge of how do we make sure that we have the right partners, the right ambassadors to tell our powerful sports stories with locally relevant athletes or ambassadors. And that was a big journey. So that was a significant mindset shift and product shift and overall investment from the company into the US. And that's what really started turning us around, taking us from roughly a $2 billion company to the short version, $6 billion 5 years later. And one of the fastest growing brands in the United States. So that sounds really easy, but it wasn't.
I mean, as soon as you start talking that many zeros, I'm already sold. I'm already happy. You identified, how crucial it is to actually have that community. You were touching on every facet of what sport meant in America, which, as you know, is multiple facets. You recognized that we needed to figure how to drill and create a community with each business opportunity in an authentic way. So talk me through and our listeners, those kind of pillars for success and how, what does that mean? What are they? And what does that look like in actuality?
It was a case of how do we drill down into each of these categories and truly connect in an authentic way. And I want to pause on that word. It's authentic. When I was growing up and you had a cool shoe on the wall and Magic Johnson or Larry Bird was wearing it like the Converse Weapons, I was like, oh my God, I want that shoe. Those days have long gone. The days today of the athlete, wants fantastic, innovative product that helps him or her perform, but they also want to see why am I buying your product and what does that mean I stand for? So really ensuring that we had a unique point of view on each of those categories and being very, very true to that. So it would really transcend it into almost their psyches of, I want to buy Adidas cleat because this is what you guys stand for. So football, for example, we wanted to be the fastest football brand in terms of design language, the athletes. So we were just out after wide receivers, and quarterbacks to authenticate ourselves. So the kids who wanted to be that cool guy that was catching the touchdown were like, this is Adidas, And over time, we went from 2 or 3% market share to having the number one speed cleat in the market, which honestly, when the team said, we're going to stand for this, I was like, love it. Internally, I was like, there's no way we're going to achieve this, but I love the dream. They proved me wrong, and the Adizero cleat became, one of the best cleats in the market. And so it just goes to show again that power of belief, but then being so true to that strategy, getting those athletes and telling that story consistently in an authentic way really, really works. And that can happen across every category. Secondly is what we would call sports marketing. So that's the money that you would invest into partners such as Major League Soccer or National Hockey League or the University of Washington, Miami, or an individual athlete. Signing them over time became easier for us because we had this great brand momentum. Trust me, at the start, it was not easy to get one of the best quarterbacks to come and play in our cleats when he was like, aren't you the soccer brand? So we had to prove we had great, right? And that comes to a word called trust. That you have to have a team that are out there working with these partners that they truly trust, because that's their most important equipment, right? If that fails, they fail. And if you're an NCAA player and your product's failing, then that means a whole potential different outcome for the next stage of life if you want to go pro. So you've got to have an amazing product, but you've got to have a team that care for your athletes. But then the word is, why sign them if you're not activating them? And so we found that we had an amazing group of athletes all around the world, but actually how many times do we actually activate them? And what I mean by that is, how do we use them to engage our loyal consumers with great content? All right. So here is an amazing baseball cleat. Guess what? We developed this for XYZ player who's now the MVP of the year. Let's create some content that we push that content out to the baseball fans, not the football fans. So making sure we're putting relevant content that they actually felt, wow, this is an opportunity for me to hear from this amazing athlete that I never would have had the chance to. So then again, that authentication piece, but then making sure you've got those athletes that are telling you the story of either their training or the product process, whatever it may be. Just clicking on a website going men's football, blah, blah, you don't win conversion from that. It's football. What is this content? How do you tell that story? And then how do you make sure that hopefully they convert? And ultimately, how do they keep coming back and coming back? It's so much harder to get a new consumer versus keeping a loyal consumer.
I think you have some really interesting data around engaging that community and how that community yields significant business value and how it did for Adidas. Can you talk to that?
I was sick one day and I was home alone in Portland and I was watching TV and I was looking at our website. And then I realized we were vanilla. We were the same as other brands, not in our space, whether it was an insurance company or a sports drink company. We were doing the same thing. And I was like, oh, this is not really that engaging. It wasn't until I was home sitting on the couch surfing through that I realized this is really, really similar. Why would I want to come back when I'm using the same recipe that everyone else is? So that's when it's like, okay, do we need 100 million loyalty members or do we need 20 million and really engage those 20 million? Yeah, the answer is somewhere in between. But what we found as we started really driving into personalization is that 20% of our high engaged members were generating over 80% of our entire e-com business.
Wow.
And we're not talking small numbers here. We are talking, at that stage, over 10 million members driving, well over $1 billion of revenue. So it was a really aha moment of, we've got fans. Are we truly engaging them with the right content, the right product, the right regularity? Yeah.
I look at what you've done and think, oh my goodness, how did you find the nerve to still to go through it? I mean, just such a massive conquest. It's really impressive. Righty ho. Well, thank you again, Zion. You have been a legend to talk to. You are the nuggets. It's like the gold rush in Southern Otago. The amount of nuggets you've given us today, it is so good. Thank you again, and we'll stay tuned for more. What the next chapter is in the story of Armstrong.